Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second ever Central Valley Film Podcast. I am the host, Jacob True. I am the head producer as well as one of the directors of the Central Valley Film Project. Today, I am once again joined by the two other producers and directors of this project, Roman Acosta and Marciano Zapian.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, how's it going, guys?
All right, so we got a lot of positive feedback from the previous podcast, so we're going to keep this going. We're going to be trying to think of some new and fresh content that we could give you guys to keep the ball rolling, to try and keep everyone engaged with the community and with what's going on throughout this quarantine. So today, I just kind of wanted to talk about the local film scene and just kind of what's going on, what filmmakers can do with and without obvious setups in terms of like festivals or gigs, and just how you guys can progress locally here in the Central Valley. So the first thing that came to mind when we were thinking of what's happening locally was, of course, the 48-hour competition that passed within the last month and a half or so, I would say, or maybe even last 2 months roughly. And we're just going to kind of give our review, I guess you could say, of it and what we thought of it overall. So I'm just going to bounce it over to you guys. What did you guys initially think of the competition? Like, what were your thoughts going into it?
I don't know. Roman, you wanna make headway on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it was I was nervous. I was a new filmmaker, so I didn't really know what to expect. I was really excited for it. I brought on a crew that I've only worked with once, but I kind of knew going into it how I was gonna. I already knew how I was prepping for it already, and I think that kind of helped me. But it was still very rough because, you had 48 hours to do it, and it was it was very time driven, very deadline driven. So yeah, reasonably, understandably, it's very stressful. But I felt a lot better in the second year just because we already did this once, so I knew. So I started planning months ahead for the second 48-hour film festival, just so I could be steps ahead of everybody else, and just because I was knowledgeable too on the mistakes I made the previous year, and stuff to look out for this year, the second year. So I was very well prepared, I would say.
Yeah, that's good to hear, especially transitioning from first year to second year. You definitely learn a lot. That's definitely a way as a filmmaker to sort of understand the process in a very intense and regimented manner, just kind of hopping in and out and moving forward with the new knowledge of okay, I know last year I was really in need of let's say a tripod or a slider. So the year following, you definitely go into it with the idea of okay, I am definitely going to get myself that tripod. I'm going to get myself that slider. And I would say one of the biggest things for me, even learning from this most recent one, is understanding the time constraints, not just of the 48 hours, but of the 5 minutes. I think a lot of filmmakers get caught up in wanting to tell this elaborate story to show off their capability, but 5 minutes really is a tight time frame. And I'm guilty of this as well, to where you should really be looking to downscale the story and to really be sort of looking into how you could focus that. I know, Marcy, that you had written the film for the first year of the 48 hour that you had participated in. What were your thoughts when you were crafting the script, and what were you looking at when you were structuring it?
Honestly, I was just looking. What I was looking for was to tell an experimental tale of just I'm working within not only obviously the 48-hour constraint, but also the 5-minute constraint. On that note, you really have to think about pre-production and all the things that you have access to. It was all of those things as the rigid bone structure. It wasn't so much a story I wanted to tell. It was, I have all these tools. What can I craft from what I'm given? I have this canvas, this place or whatever. what can I craft from all the elements that live in the back of my head right now. And yeah, like that, a lot of what went into writing that script was just pragmatizing and thinking of all the things, all like the contingent things before actually getting on set and filming. So like it really just came down to pre-production. Like if I were to capitalize what the 48 hour was for me and what my role in it was thinking of how the film was going to be shot before it was shot. That was the huge thing. If I can see it all in my head thoroughly and just batter it with all these things of, well, what if the sunlight doesn't show this way, or what if I don't have access to this location, or I don't have this rig, how can I shoot it to where it's just bolted down? So the whole thing was just pre-production for me, and I took all the things that went wrong and I took it into the next 48 hour and wrote based on that, what I had access to and everything that could go wrong, and just telling a story within like just a base theme, like without rambling. Like that's really what it was, is just what basic theme or feeling could I encapsulate in the audience or deliver to the audience. Just even if it were just one moment. And I feel like in that 48 hour, I was able to deliver that. And I've pretty much rolled forward with all my other projects with that in mind. If I can get one moment within that 5 minutes that you feel a specific thing that I targeted, then I've succeeded. So it wasn't theme, it wasn't elaborate story, and it wasn't really like, oh, what material can I come up with on the fly and with what I got. It was, yes, what do I have access to and what can I make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I definitely agree with the sentiment there. A lot of filmmakers usually come up with like a story and then just give up on it because they're like, oh, I don't have access to this thing, or I can't do this certain situation that I've written. You should honestly begin with the tools that you have and just write out around those tools, as Marciano had just said, because as long as you're working within those tools, you can craft something that makes it seem like those are all organic and natural to the story, and you can weave in a lot of different stuff. So to kind of bounce back to you, Roman, like what did your preparation process look like? Because I know you would begin to prepare for the 48 hour in the second year to garner those resources. So that way you would know what you're working with and stuff. Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah. So what did that preparation process look like for you? Like what did you know you were missing the first year, and how did you adjust for that the second year?
So I think there were two things I was missing the first year. One, a writer. Second, an editor. And I mean, not that's not to say like to take away the person who helped me with the first year with the script, Jalen, because me and him did write it, but I feel like there was something missing with us. Like we were just trying, and we were just trying to write something. It was like I don't think I finished the script the first year until like 5:30 a.m. the first night. So I think we ended up filming like 3 hours later, or like 4 or 5 hours later that night. But that's not to say like Jalen isn't a bad writer. It was just like we were just so unprepared for the script, like we had no idea. So going into the second year, I contacted Michael. So I contacted him, and he was one of the first people I got on to my crew as the writer. And I just knew having him would help me a lot because he's a really good writer and I trust what he writes. And I'm glad he trusted me to fulfill his vision with his script. And like I said, the second was editing, because let's face it, I'm not a really good editor at all. We had other people claiming they wanted to edit this film either, but none of them were really like on a level of like expertise or, on that level. So I contacted my friend Blaze, who makes very good vlogs on YouTube. You guys gotta check him out if you're listening to this. And I got him. He's been wanting to work with me for a while, so he right away said yes. Very excited. So just getting him on board was so much helpful, and it really paid off in the end, because if I was gonna edit this film, or if somebody else was, I don't think we could have done what we did without these two, if I'm being honest. So very, very huge help.
Yeah, and by distributing the load in that particular way, didn't that take like a lot off your shoulders as well, like as the director, since you had to do it all last year?
Yeah, I did a lot last year, so I was able to sleep this year. Everybody did their part. Michael busted out a script in like 45 minutes. We loved it.
Oh man, that's quick.
Blaze was editing. Yeah, Blaze was editing. He came out with a rough cut in like 2-3 hours. We slept, touched it up in the morning, and yeah, the final product is what you see.
Yeah, and again, to really emphasize, I brought this up briefly on the previous podcast, but the difference between the first 48-hour film and the second 48-hour film for Roman, was immense. A lot of improvements, and it really shows that the preparation, went the distance for his particular case. I'm going to bounce it back to you, Marcy, because I was just thinking how the first year you would more behind the camera and more of the filmmaker perspective, and the second year you were more in front of the camera and from like a performer and an actor's perspective. I was just wondering how similar and how contrasting those two experiences were for you. Were you more stressed as the filmmaker or as the actor? Did you feel at ease at both? What is the experience for you between those two roles?
Well, I would think that the levels of stress are pretty, like they are pretty relatable. Like they were both nominal, but I feel like there obviously was more stress riding on me on the first one, because I was behind the camera, and I was offered a chance at being like actually experimental, and I mean, that's not to say that I'm not experimental with every role that I'm given. It's just I've been acting for a good minute, but like in comparison to filmmaking, I feel like I'm still learning, and I'm still constantly learning. I'm still at a novice level, and it's like I'm still gonna regard myself years down the line as novice until I have multiple projects underneath my belt. And I don't know. So ranging from the first year, like if I was gonna encapsulate any feelings, it would be just feelings of feelings of risk. I was offered an opportunity to put something out there that had an aesthetic, had a shape, a structure, and I wanted it to be my own. I wanted to take what I saw in other movies and just either flip it on its head or somehow add a curve to it that was my own. And I feel like the only difference really is not so much stress like in the experience, but rather it's just I don't know, like gradation of like experimentation. Like I was able to put my own spin on this small window of a world, whereas with being in front of the camera, I only had to operate within the character and figure out how to turn it and operate within a world. So yeah, I just stress level was obviously much more high in the first one, because it was like this is the first entry of like my visual journal. So
yeah, no, I definitely feel that, and that's a really eloquent way of putting it, as in like as a filmmaker your focus is on the world and on the entirety, whereas if you're an actor it's just on the character and the character's function within that world. That's a really defined and simple way to put it. To bounce it back to both of you, something in my experience is that, generally speaking, when I've interacted with some actors and actresses, definitely not all. I've been blessed enough to where I've only worked with, prime cuts, really great and talented people. But I have definitely seen symptoms sometimes within an amateur actor or actress to where they're very much kind of self-concerned and not necessarily being conscious of the story and of the film as a whole, but rather just of themselves. Do you guys feel like it could be a struggle sometimes as actors, as even to you as well, Roman? You are also a very talented actor, in case you all do not know.
Well, thank you.
I'm just wondering what you guys think of that. Do you guys think that as an actor, that it could be hard to remember that you're just like a cog in the machine, or do you feel like you are usually conscious of that?
I think when I do get the chance to act, I do take into account the script, who's directing, who's writing, just who's in charge, who's running the set, and because nobody wants to have that wasted talent. Nobody wants to waste their time on set, and especially if it doesn't get produced and made all the way, that's a huge waste of time. So I always double check, triple check even before signing on to a project. But when I do get put in different roles for like an actor, I do know I'm there just to act. I'm not there to try and be like a creative difference there, try to be a burden on people, because that's not my job. My job is to be an actor, or my job is to be this. Even if I'm helping a crew out, I'm not there to try and direct people. I'm not there to try and tell people what to do. I'm simply there just to do my job. And if people want to do things their own way, do it. Like I won't disagree, but it's just interesting to see how people work. But bottom line, long story short, I'm there just to do my job, and I'm not there to pick fights or, like I said, start creative differences.
Yeah, and like on that tangent, I just feel like again, it's like playing off the note I made earlier. You are operating within a world. You like I get that being on a set is a collaborative and cooperative effort. But ultimately you do have to cooperate at one point. So if anything, I could say that it's more cooperative. Like you do have to remember your role in shaping the world, but ultimately you have to respect the person who's building it from the ground up. And that it's a rarity to find somebody who's like so honed in and focused on like their own like maneuvers within that world, like, or just focused on their own demonstration of their craft. Like it's very hard to find. And when you do find it, you better lock it down, because there's a lot of I guess misconceptions when it comes to like world building and being on set. So just I don't know. It's not a matter of like do your job and keep your mouth shut so much as it's just remember who's building the world and remember your own role. Because I feel like when you focus too much on the externalities, you're losing focus on your own internal work. So.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good way of looking at it. As actors, in terms of my own acting experience, I've just only done like small cameos and stuff of the like. I've taken some acting classes, but I'm definitely not on the level of these two. So it's really nice and interesting, not just for me, but for anyone else out there who's interested in this too. I get those perspectives. To kind of reel it back in to the 48 hour, I'm just wondering how you guys view it as an event. Like, what are some aspects of the organization of the event, of the, showrunners and everything like that? What do you guys think of it as a whole? Like, what are some really strong highlights for you?
I think it's a really good opportunity for a lot of filmmakers. We have a lot of filmmakers here in the Central Valley, specifically Modesto. And so I think a lot of them want that opportunity to express themselves and to kind of display what kind of talent they have, what kind of talent they're like hiding. And it's a really cool event run by Andy Wong. He's really cool. I love it. This was my second year.
Shout out Andy.
Yes, shout out to Andy. Like I said, this
Andy.
was my second year. Really fun. Really, I thought it was better than the first year. So I think it's going to keep growing bigger and bigger every year. He even handed out like cash prizes. So I think the more people that join and participate in this event will only see higher cash prizes and possibly even higher rewards.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And for you, Marcy?
I just think it's a good outlet for people who really want to just want to dabble in the field, and like it makes it available or even accessible to everyone, or anybody with an interest in film. Like it really, for me, it was an opportunity at like, well, why not? I mean, why not experiment? And I run, like I stand a chance at getting my work presented, which was huge. Like with the advent or with the inclusion of like cash prizes and stuff, like it really pushes you to like want to risk more. Like you want to put more on the line, and you get better quality of work. And I feel like with time, and if we continue to just build, oh man, the quality of it, like every year is going to be even like greater. It's going to get much more intense in competition.
More tougher, more competitive, yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to see.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, you're going to see much better work from all of us collectively. Like despite the competition, it's just going to like build people up even more to try. Like, I don't know, competition is incentive to just be better. And yeah, dude, you're going to see some like talent being built in the Valley. That's the big thing, is where it should be happening down south or in the Bay. It's happening right here locally.
Mm-hmm. I could definitely get behind that. A huge component of the competition that I really appreciate and that I really love is kind of like how you said, how it elevates filmmakers within the area. It really gives them a voice and a proper platform. Because before it was like whispers and murmurs, like, you know, it would just be so, you would just so happen to bump into another filmmaker, you know, but with this event, I feel like I know all the filmmakers within the Modesto area. You know, it's really strong centralizing force within the Valley. And to even go further than that, to kind of have your movie shown in a full theater, you know, the beautiful local State Theater. Thank you to the State Theater for hosting that event yearly.
Hey, thank you
really
very much.
Excited for the next one. It really is dreamlike whenever you see your movie on screen. So to see that sort of legitimacy and to see the filmmaking community be uplifted in that way is not just exciting for me, but not even just exciting for the filmmaking community, but I think it's exciting for the community as a whole to kind of see that there is an art scene in Modesto, even if it's quiet at the moment.
Yeah, big time.
Mm-hmm. And moving with that, I was just wondering, was there anything during the 48 hour that you would like to see improved? Was there anything where you felt like you were unclear on something, or you just had a different perspective on the event? Where do you guys want to see the 48 hour go within the next year?
I would like to see more like awards other than cash prizes. Like, I do want to see Andy incorporate awards like best director, actor, actress, editing, cinematography, stuff like that, stuff on the technical and like performance level. You know, I think that'd be very interesting, much more incentive. Much more incentive like feeling. It gives people to have something excited about, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And something I hadn't even necessarily considered was giving away something like aside from cash, because I know the State Theater had recently constructed their Jewel Box Theater If you guys do not know what that is, head to their website. We'll link it in the description below to go ahead and check that out. It's a beautiful, personal, localized theater. Something they could even give away to some filmmakers if they want to expand the award categories. Would be like maybe like a free night at the Jewel for like you and your family, because it is available for rentals if you guys are interested in screening your own stuff for personal use. I think that'd be a really exciting way to kind of promote the Jewel as well as create more categories for filmmakers.
Yeah, dude, that's like that inclusion. Like really, I don't know. I got really stoked to see that there was a mini theater and like on the off season. If you're making films, you can rent it out. Like that's awesome. Get your stuff seen is the big thing.
Exactly. And even if it's just for friends and family, it's still a very cool screen. I thought it would be significantly smaller than the main stage theater, and it is definitely smaller, but it's definitely larger than I had first anticipated. So it's still really exciting to go in there and kind of see stuff on that screen. To go forward again with the constructive criticisms of the competition. Did you have any opinions on that, Marciano, or do you feel like the competition is exactly where you would like to see it?
Honestly, I feel like a bigger outreach. The addition of the 48-hour meetup was awesome. I feel like that was a move in the right direction in like trying to get more people included, because it's before it was word of mouth, and it still is on a level of word of mouth. It's like as big as it is, it's still niche. So like it's gonna it puts the burden of spreading the word on us, which it should be, but at the same time, it's like if you put it out there that like actors in the area, sound people, prop makers, or just anybody that had an interest in film, a quiet interest in film, but isn't anywhere like near film occupationally. Like if you had that a bigger outreach, I feel like more people would be even involved, and it would be a much bigger event. So that meetup, if you can get more people to show up at that meetup, oh, that'd be fantastic. Bigger net of actors and just filmmakers alike.
Definitely. And going off of that, I would even say, because I had attended, as well as you guys as well, the meetup, and it was definitely intimidating for people who didn't come with their group or like didn't have a group yet, because there was a handful of people who had shown up to go and find their group. It could be really intimidating for that small handful of people when they show up to try and approach a group and kind of say like, hey, do you guys have like an extra spot for this role or anything like that? So even if there was like an anonymous way to sort of kind of do that, or like digitally submit a form to say like, oh, I'm independent and I don't have a team, and then whoever the administrators are that given year could kind of throw those sort of wild cards into a single group to make a film. That could definitely be one way to approach it. Or have that sign up sheet again at that meetup to where they could say I'm independent, and then again sort of toss it together and put together a group that way. I think that'd be a great option for filmmakers overall.
Oh yeah, big time.
And to build even more so on top of that, I would say I would also like to see some transparency in how they decide like best film and best student film. Like kind of get an understanding of what that scorecard looks like for the judges, or what the judges are looking for. Because as for me, obviously there are some obvious components that you could tell they would be looking for, such as like the use of the line, use of the prop, how's the film look overall, how's the film sound overall. But if you were to kind of give even more transparency and release the judge form to the filmmakers, I think it would help elevate the talent even more so here, and promote sort of growth for the filmmaker, because they'll be more conscious of those components of the film, to where they're like, oh, okay, like, how deep is my character? How deep is the story? And so on and so forth. So I think having a transparency on how the films are judged and scored would be very beneficial for the competition and for the filmmakers who participate, as they would be more conscious and more aware of all the creative decisions they're making.
Yeah, valid.
And then to build further off of that, obviously the 48-hour film festival, is always, big talks locally, which kind of brings in the idea that there's definitely a demand for these sort of events. What kind of a festival would you guys want to see created in the Valley if we were to add like an additional festival to the 48-hour competition? Like, what kind of a format would you want to see? Would it be more of like a shorts festival? Would you even want to push for like some other films to come in outside of the Valley? What do you guys want to see in the Valley itself?
I wouldn't mind seeing more short film festivals. I don't really know like what I want exactly, but I mean, if I'm being really short here, like I would like to see more short film festivals. That'd be pretty cool. Just more opportunities to display like talent, showcase talent, and express yourselves.
Yeah, and if you had to get genre based, that would only add to the variance of I don't know, just the variance of how many festivals, like, or of different short film festivals. I'm down for short film festivals, and in fact, like that would be probably the next phase of action, or the optimistic phase of action. But if like we're limited to one on the off season, why not just switch it up and have one biannually that's genre specific? My intention is probably horror. I love working with that because you get like like at that point you'd make gradations not only on not just on quality, but just how you can elicit a feeling from an audience. So that's
yeah,
huge
that could
to
be
me.
fun. You could even do that within like the month of October, because that's a pretty good distance away from the 48 hours, so people wouldn't be too burnt off that. And then you could probably fill out the theater by saying, oh, look at these local horror films that we have going, and people would be like in that festive spirit and stuff. That would be a solid idea to go genre specific. When I was thinking of it, I was definitely thinking more of like same vein as Roman, to where it'd be very general, more open to the individual filmmaker and just whatever genre. But hearing it get toned down to like a specific genre, I think it's also a wonderful idea. Why not both? Do you think there's a cap on interest in festivals? Do you think you would burn out the film community here if you were to do too many festivals? Or like, do you think like the one is good? Do you think one more would be good? Or do you think even 10 would be good? How many festivals do you think we can hold?
I think like one or two would be good for now, but I think it's like slowly, like we got to slowly build up to that point, and we get to see what opinions are, what people thoughts are before like expanding to like 5, 10, So I think just slowly building to that point we would most likely see the build up and see the thoughts and people what's going on in people's minds, like what their opinions really are.
No, yeah. I would say keep to like one or two, not only for exclusivity's sake, because it's going to continue. We'll get peak interest like if it's just one or two, as opposed to like like 3, 4. I don't know, because like it'll start to taper off. But if you leave something for people to look forward to, but also still have enough that it is you maintain momentum from one festival to the next festival. I think 2 is a good number for now. And I feel like if anything, the next phase should be the involvement of like neighboring counties. Like if you haven't like this should be the model for like neighboring counties to like see that there's interest, and that would also add to the variance of opportunities in the valley. Like it doesn't necessarily have to happen here, but it could happen elsewhere. Just more variety.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Marcy, about like having two. Two is the right number, because when you think about the 48-hour film festival, it's a unique opportunity, one that happens just once every year, and so people really get excited about that. I think, look, we're not LA, we're not San Francisco, where they hold festivals every week, every month, you know. So I think that kind of holds a place of like, how to say, uniqueness, you know, something that's unique here, right in Modesto. You know, if it gets too excessive, it's sort of like a normal thing, and like, oh, like you're in that film festival, oh, great, like good for you, you know, because you know we're a small city, we're not really like hugely known for a lot of things, but we're growing. Like I said, we are a growing community of talent and filmmakers, and so I think having like two would be the right number, and something that's still not frequently happening, but still enough to anticipate as the months go by, because as soon as one ends, boom, like 6 months from now you're already looking for the next one, and another 5-6 months after that you're also looking for the next one, and so it still holds like that unique level, I think.
Yeah,
Definitely. I definitely feel that. I definitely feel like we haven't tapped into every possible filmmaker we can in the Central Valley. I think we're really tapping into almost full capacity of like what the Modesto scene is looking like with the 48-hour film festival. But I think if we another film festival were to be created and to be marketed properly, I feel like you could tap into areas like Stockton and Merced and get filmmakers from those areas participating as well, and help events like that grow.
yeah, of course, but absolutely.
Definitely.
A lot of people locally primarily participate in the art of filmmaking during the 48-hour competition. They seem to be relatively silent or inactive, or at least the majority of participants, between 48-hour competitions. What would you guys like? How would you want to encourage the community to just keep making their own films and kind of capitalize on their own talent and move forward? Or how have you guys done that yourselves as filmmakers? Remained active or kind of remained focused when there's no clear festival or no clear time constraint to making a film? How do you guys maintain that work ethic?
I think I'm always trying to work. I'm always trying to stay busy. You know, even if there's no festival in sight, like I'm still trying to work with people all the time. I'm trying to write my own scripts. I'm trying to produce other people's scripts, and just trying to work with people. You know, with the time off we might have. I mean, we have all the time in the world now, but you know, if things were normal right now, I'd usually trying my best to work with a lot more people. Try different roles too. Like, what if I don't want to direct this time? Maybe I can act. Maybe I can try cinematography. Maybe you can try my hand in editing this time, or you know, expanding certain areas of expanding your skills in different areas of filmmaking. But you know, like for me, always trying to stay busy, always trying to write, and just be creative.
Definitely. How have you been keeping active, Marcy?
Really, it's just been a lot of writing. Personally, I'm trying to sharpen my acting skills a little bit more. I've been studying monologues, trying to memorize, and on top of that, while I'm studying them, I'm learning how I'm learning dialogue dynamisms, like trying to figure out how a monologue has lasted so long, or why it has such attention, and like around that context, like if it's such a good one that I watch the movie and I really study what the mechanics of it, and a lot of it has been just watching movies and like in the back of my mind really sharpening my skills for how it was made, and why these decisions were made while watching the movie. So right now the way I stay busy is just through film analysis and application of those things in scripts. Like most of my focus has been going towards scripts and script breakdowns. So just and thinking of how I can push the limit. If I write a lot of drama, then I'm gonna work on comedy. If I'm gonna work on comedy, or if I work on thrillers, then I really want to hone down on horror. If I work on horror, then I need to work more on. You see what I mean? It's just it's just a lot of study right now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's definitely really good for everyone who is stuck at home right now. As I'll just echo the sentiments of my fellow filmmakers here. Steady, steady, steady. There's a lot of resources out there. You just gotta, dig down and find them. And you can learn a lot during this time. That's definitely a time to where you can do what you want at this point, because a lot of us are out of work. For those of you who aren't, thank you for, being the front lines for us during this hard time. But for those of you who are at home, we can make sure that we're keeping ourselves productive by actively finding ways to study and to learn. And furthermore, I would say learn to create as well. Create something, punch up a script, even if it's a horrible script. Ask yourself, why is it a horrible script? And by focusing your efforts in such a way, you will definitely see improvement by the end of quarantine. And you'll definitely maybe even come out with a better reel because of it. I definitely know that I've been drafting ideas. I know you guys have been drafting ideas as well. And it's definitely a great way to kind of hone your skills as a filmmaker and to just maintain focus outside the festival. Because if you're waiting for someone to hand you that opportunity to make film, to be successful at film, then you've already lost. You got to be making it yourself. You've got to be putting it out yourself, because without that self-investment, you won't get investment from other people. You have to be willing to take that chance on yourself and be able to put yourself out there in order to reach the upper echelons of your craft.
Mm-hmm. And just as a side note, this just like sparked. There are no horrible scripts. There's just very, very bad drafts.
That is a great way.
And yeah, and there are no good scripts. There's just really, really good drafts. So just remember that. Just keep that in the back keep that on the back burner.
I know I'll make sure to keep that in my mind.
Definitely. It's a great way to look at it, that very organic way of just kind of seeing a piece evolve. All right, so we're going to be wrapping shop here in a little bit due to some technical constraints. So we're wrapping a little bit earlier than we usually would. But thank you guys for listening to the podcast today. Do you guys have any parting thoughts?
Stay creative, guys. Let's we're all in this together. No, I'm just kidding. We're all we're all united here. So let's keep it going. Let's be strong. Let's stay creative, and we'll get to work very soon, guys. I promise.
Yeah, stay hungry. As soon as the floodgates or lift, you need to spill out. If this was a reflection of anything, it's that. So just stay creative, and if you want to do that, then do it. Like if there's something that is inspiring you and igniting you, let that fire burn. Go for it.
Definitely. Again, thank you guys for listening to the podcast. We're going to be trying to find some more content to put out for you guys during this rough time. Just stay patient as we're staying patient with the situation. Stay safe, stay up to date as to what's going on around us, just so we can make sure that we're able to get through this as quickly and as safely as possible. Again, once more, thank you for watching. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good one.
Later, guys.